Well, I've brought all the textures in for the walls just to see how they look here, and they're looking pretty good. Let's test this now and take it into Unity and just see how it looks. So now we already have the walls over here in Unity, right? I just UV mapped and applied the textures to these three walls here. Living room, left, windows, and back. Here are the models that we've brought in, the FBX files that we've brought in. If we take a look at this and look at, say, one of the walls, say living back right here, we can't just delete this out of here. If I right-click on this and hit delete, nothing happens, right? We can't get rid of this per se. This is all one object. This is all one file. We could, if we wanted to, come in here and select an individual wall up in the hierarchy, and we could delete this if we wanted to, and then bring it back in individually, but it would be a different FBX file. I think what I'm going to do is just export it out and overwrite this with the new versions of the objects. So back in Blender, I will select the layer that has just the walls on it, so I can just hit A and select everything. I'll then come up here to File, Export FBX, Selected Objects Only. And this time I will browse right into that Models folder, and I'll export it out right over that existing Walls FBX. Let's see what happens. I'll hit Export, and there we go. Let's go take a look. So here in the Unity project, here's that Walls FBX that we just imported in. But here's the question, is that the one that we imported or is it the old one? Only one way to find out is to bring in our textures and see if they fit. So let's go to our textures folder, and I will right click and choose Import New Asset. And let's go to that textures folder in our project. Choose the walls, and here it is, walls, paper. See right here. Let's see how it works. Import. Now if we select one of our walls right here, and this is the back, I'll bring that white level all the way up to pure white, and I'll take the color map and drag it into the albedo. And sure enough, that's the one. So now we can go ahead and do these other walls as well. How about the living room left? Drop that in. And how about over here, the one with the windows? Increase that to white and drag that in. So, there we go. So what have we done here? What have we learned? Well, what I'm trying to do is go through several different processes for texturing and arranging your materials and your UV maps. We've talked about several different methods of doing that. We've looked at using a repeatable texture directly in Unity. When we first began texturing the couch, we've looked at exporting out UV maps to Photoshop and layering our textures over that. With the couch, we brought it in with two objects, a material for each of the objects. With the coffee table, we brought in one object, two materials applied to that one object. We did the same thing with the walls, but we put the UV islands of separate objects all on one UV map. So you can see there are a lot of ways to organize and export your objects with their materials and with the textures. And remember, we also exported out of Blender using vertex colors so that a program like Substance Painter can see those different areas as individual materials. So we've actually covered quite a lot here. Now that we know this is going to work, let's go back to Photoshop and clean up our UV map. Here in Photoshop, I can select that UV layer, go to my magic wand tool with the W key, or clicking right over here, selecting, shift select this area maybe, and maybe shift select these areas in here with the doors and the windows. And now if we take all of these layers here, I'm going to Alt and click and drag these so they duplicate. Now I'm going to press Control or Command E so they all merge down into one. And these now I can put in a group, call it, say, Originals, and hide that. With those areas selected, I'll go ahead and contract this selection a bit by going to Select, Modify, Contract, and I'll contract it by 2 frames, let's say. There we go, just to give our UV islands a little bit of breathing room. Then I'll go back to this merged layer and hit the Delete key. And we can go ahead and add a new layer and drag it down to the bottom. Make sure we've got black over here. Go to the Paint bucket. I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to press Control or Command D to deselect everything. And then I'm going to paint in here so it paints the whole layer. And now I can turn off the UVs. And there is our UV map. We can export this out by going to File, Export, Export As. And let's go ahead and put it in the Unity project, in the Assets folder, and right in that Textures folder, here's that walls color map, so we'll just overwrite that completely, export and replace. And now if we go back to Unity, there it is, and it's applied to our objects. So in the next few videos, I will be just cranking out more assets, more objects to go in our scene here, and using the same processes that we've already used. So hopefully if you have any questions or something wasn't particularly clear, you'll see it done again and it'll begin to click. So let's keep on moving.